Yeah, we don't want to get into valuations.
We gotta make sure. We gotta make sure.
6 o'clock, we'll call the county board meeting to order. We'll begin a flag pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, Beth.
Commissioner Benoit,
Here.
Commissioner Heinen,
Here.
Commissioner Pop,
Here.
Commissioner Johnson,
Here.
Commissioner Kapinski.
Here. Approve or amend the agenda.
We have no changes.
Move for approval, Mr. Chair.
Second. Motion's been made and seconded to approve the agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. County board meetings are broadcast live and video recorded on YouTube. Please restrain from speaking from the audience area and come to the podium so that the viewers can hear you. The county board observes Robert's Rules of Orders for its meetings, so please obtain the board's chair consent before addressing the county board. Public comments are generally reserved for the open forum segment or the public hearing. However, public comments on other agenda items may be allowed at the discretion of the board's chair. As we begin today, please turn off your cell phones or tune them to vibrate. Thank you. Open forum. So if you're gonna talk on open forum and anything on your valuations or everything, we'll save that for a different time. We have Jim Markfort, and the issue is the airport.
My name is Jim Markfort, and my question is, how can the city just give the airport to 3 different county and the property owners? It was a municipal airport, correct?
I don't know if it was municipal or if it was just city-owned, right?
St. Cloud Municipal Airport, wasn't that what it was named?
Yeah.
Yep.
And then they changed the name so they can give it, because you can't give it away to the counties if it's a municipal airport?
No, it was actually done, all 3 counties agreed to go into the regional airport authority so they could have a taxing authority. And it was all the I believe it was the Sherburne County attorney did all the upkeep and everything like that. It allowed them to collect more money from federal if they were a regional airport authority.
So if they're collecting from the federal, how come all our property owners have to pay for it?
Well, that's a pretty good question because
It's on this sheet here that you get a 100% increase in the levy, went up to $1 million, so who's gonna pay that?
well, the $1 million is for all 3 counties. I don't know exactly what Benton County share, but our share is a lot less than that. I think it's somewhere around 130,000 is what Benton County share is. That was kind of a mistake from the auditor treasurer. That shouldn't have been put on there as $1 million. It should have been broke down. And we've been working with the airport on some of that, Commissioner Kapinski and myself, because I'll own that I voted for that regional airport authority because it just seemed like it was something that was needed in the part of the county, because we have the most to gain in Benton County with it being so close to our developmental land, and it sits right on the edge of Benton County. And it just looked like it was something really good, and the agreement kind of said that they weren't supposed to tax us for 10 years, because the city is picking up about, $680,000 a year until they get financially stable. To the 10th year for 10 years. And what is it, 4? And so
About
they're
5.
5 years?
5 I think that was done in 2019, was it?
I don't know, I can't.
I think it was 2019.
I don't remember the exact year. But, so that was kind of a disappointment part on behalf of the cities. And personally, I don't think that the documents were viewed very well by our attorneys. And there are some loopholes that allowed the airport authority to.
So why was it just given it to the property owners? Why wasn't it given it to all the residents of the county? Just the property owners aren't the only ones that use that airport. I've never been to the airport, and I don't know how many people here use the airport. but we have to pay for it now?
We have to pay a portion of it, yes.
We've been working very hard to try and get that taken care of.
Yeah.
Between, I know Stearns has been
Yeah.
very vocal about it, or we have been extremely vocal about it. But it takes, everybody basically to agree to let somebody out. That was one of the bad things that was
Yeah.
wrote in the contract. So that was done before my time, and I'll tell you, it's been a tough go with it, because if everybody would revert out of that, it'd go back to the city of St. Cloud. So right there, they're not gonna have a vote. They don't wanna take on all of that again. So right now, we're really working to minimize what happens out there
We
versus,
as the landowners seem to be getting an awful lot of stuff dumped on us lately. So, anyway, that's my question.
yep.
All right, thanks. Mary Jo Nordman?
Good evening, Mary Kay Nordman. I have a couple questions. First of all, tax increase is like what percent?
5-6.
9.56, okay. Of that 9.56, how much is the new government center? Seven what?
Mr. Chair, how about we address budget and levy related questions and under our truth and taxation portion? That will come up, absolutely, you bet, yep.
Okay, would that,
Yeah, yep.
that be okay with
That's
you?
fine with me,
Yeah.
yep.
Okay, thanks. Consent agenda, we got items 1 through 9.
I'll make a motion to approve 1 through 9.
I'll second.
Motion been made and seconded. Approve items 1 through 9. All in favor?
I,
Opposed? Carried.
Mr. Chair, as a note, I do
Okay.
wanna,
Yep, all in all.
Okay.
Commissioner Kapinski has to leave at 6:40.
40.
His daughter's got parents' night in Sauk Rapids for girls' basketball, and he will stay as long as he can, but I don't blame him for not wanting to miss that, so. Monty Headley, County Administrator, conduct a truth and taxation meeting.
So, Mr. Chair, do you have an announcement you'd like to make perhaps before we get into the staff report?
Yep.
Yeah.
Tonight, we are considering the truth and taxation public meeting. The proposal of this meeting is to discuss the proposed 2026 county budget and levy. A brief staff presentation. I will invite members of the audience to come to the podium for questions and comments about the proposed budget and levy. If you wish to address the county board, please sign up on the sheet in the back of the room. When you come to the podium, give your name and your address. If you come here tonight with questions on your property values, on your truth and taxation notice, please sign up on a separate sheet in the back of the room, and our land services will contact you. Please put down your phone number and the best time for us to call you. Again, the purpose of tonight's meeting is to discuss the budget and the levy and not property values. Please sign up please sign up to speak with the county assessor, and he will do his very best to answer your questions. We'll begin with a staff report tonight.
So, Mr. Chair, the information on truth and taxation has been published on our website for a couple of weeks. And I'd like to just show that if I may.
Excuse me, Monty, is your mic on?
It sure is. I'll just get a little closer.
Thank you.
Yep. So we've had out here again on the county website, the summary that's in your packet, which we'll talk about tonight. And then also the detailed line item. So if you're really interested in seeing the budget line by line, department by department, you can go out here and you can see every account, every line, every department. I think it's about 80 or 90 pages of our detailed line item budget. So I want folks to know that is out there on our website. My intention tonight was to cover the summary, and I know you've got a lot of folks here, so my comments will be really brief to give lots of time for the public to speak. Our obligation on the statute, Mr. Chair, is to simply to discuss the budget and levy and give the public an opportunity to ask questions, and make comments. So let's take a look quickly at the summary. I think what I'll do is just focus on. I'll just focus on the one-page summary. This is in your packet, and a little bit of the graphs too. But let's just focus, if we can, on on this one-page summary. So we have at this point a proposed levy increase of 9.56%, or $2.4 million from 2025. That results in a levy of about $27.3 million. Our 10-year average is a 3.74% levy increase, and I'll jump, if I may, quickly to the graph that's in your packet too. It's second. You can see this graph is 10 years from 2017 through 26. And you definitely can see at the bottom here some fairly small levy increases those during some of those years, and you can see the decline in our tax rate. This shows in 2017 our tax rate was 66%, and it's down to 47.7% in 2026. I will jump back up to the summary. So this next bullet talks about the tax rate. We're expecting about 5% growth in our tax capacity from our county assessor. So that helps to actually offset some of the growth in the tax rate. We will see a small increase, though, with the levy increase going from 45.6% to 47.7%. Lots of times folks want to know about, well, how does it affect a median valued house? And the current median is 267 from our county assessor. That's up 4.25% from 2025. Based upon that median value, the county property taxes would increase $106 or $8.84 a month. One thing I wanted to pause just for a moment and dig a little bit deeper into this, if I could, is lots of times your tax burden is oftentimes a function of your value. So if your value stayed the same, you might not see nearly as large of an increase, or sometimes your value might go down. So that's kind of the weakness of some of these examples. It depends on where your value is going. And I wanted to show you, and I want to try and isolate what's the effect of the levy increase, assuming your values stayed the same. And just remember, if you could, for a moment, that $106 number. So let's go to my homestead example. You can see 2025, the county taxes are just $1,063. 2026, $1,169, and there's that 106 increase. So this assumes, again, you're looking at median valued house from 25 to 26, going from 256 to 267. So what if I just leave that value the same? The increase is basically cut in half. So the point I'm trying to make here is that the actual effect of the levy increase is about $50. It's half of that increase on that median value house. So again, it's really important to sort of get inside what's going on with your value, and that can have a significant effect upon your tax burden. All right, let's go back to my summary. Here we go. We talked about median value. The total budget is $68.8 million, and that's a decrease of $1.1 million. Lots of times we see some big gyrations in our budget from year to year, and sometimes that's a function of a road program. A really big road program one year, a much smaller one the next. So we're going to see a smaller road program in 2026, and that explains most of that $1.1 million decrease. This next set of bullet points answers, is it Mary Jo?
Okay.
Mary Kay.
Mary Kay. Her question about, well, how much of the levy increase is related to the debt service on the new building? That first bullet point answers your question. $1.7 million, $1,739,000 is related to the debt service on the government center. And here's the rest of the pieces that make up that levy increase, the $2.4 million levy increase. A general wage increase for county employees, step increases, and career advancement adjustments. We have a 3% health insurance increase. Also, January 1, Minnesota paid leave starts, and the employer has the obligation to pay at least half of that 0.88 contribution. So that's what that costs us, $103,000 for the Minnesota paid leave. Also, the board chose to use $500,000 of reserves to help bring that levy increase down. Our reserves are in decent shape, so the board felt comfortable using reserves to bring this levy increase down. We're seeing some increased state aid for road maintenance. That helps. And then there's a bunch of other miscellaneous changes of a negative $225,000, which gets you the $4 million levy increase. Moving on down, this basically just elaborates on those points I just made. You can see the first bullet point, the board chose to issue $22.1 million in HRA lease revenue debt for the new government center that matures over 20 years with interest payments starting in 26 and then principal payments starting in 27. Again, general wage increases for employees, step increases, which average 3.2%, and career ladder promotions. And I should pause there for a moment. So any given year in and year out, we always address the issue of compensation and benefits. That's a factor. Our county needs to be competitive with other counties, other employers, and so it's necessary to make those adjustments. And also, too, step increases are included in labor agreements, so those we have to fund. We talked about the health insurance increase of 3%. What I understand is 3% is pretty darn good by most measures. Oftentimes, employers are seeing double-digit health insurance increases. So, in our self-funded health insurance plan, we're doing actually quite well with a 3% increase. And so, talk about Minnesota paid leave, reserves, and so on. And the last bullet point simply talks about our reserve levels. They're decent, they're good enough, and they're solid enough to allow the board to use this $500,000 of reserves to help bring that levy increase down. So I wanted to focus on, there's one last bullet point I want to talk about, and that is the proposed budget includes no new positions. So I think the board said, look, okay, we recognize there's going to be this levy increase for the building. This is not the year to add new positions. Not the year to add new positions. So there's no new positions, and really very little above and beyond the basics to fund county government. Departments were very restrained in asking for increases to their operating budgets. So most departments saw no increases in their operating budgets. So that was, departments responded very well to that request in the board for restraint in operating budgets. And again, no new positions were funded in 26. Mr. Chair, I believe that was all I wanted to cover. Again, in the sake of time, knowing you've got a lot of folks here, the rest of this is, these are graphs you've seen before that describe where the funds come from. Property tax, of course, is the largest at 40%. And then on down the line, federal and state road funding is next, and then human services federal funding. You can see we receive a substantial amount of external resources to help fund the operations of county government. $11.7 million in state and federal road funding. Almost $10 million of human services and public health revenue. So we're bringing substantial resources into the county. One I usually like to point out is County Program A. That is a state general purpose aid with the intention of helping counties reduce their levies and provide property tax relief. It only accounts for about 5% of our revenue sources. So it's not a significant source of funds to reduce local property tax levies. So where's the money going? Well, not surprisingly, quite a bit to salaries and benefits. That makes up 47% of the overall total funds budget. We have a very large capital project budget next year. Again, that's mostly the road program out of our $68.8 million budget. And on down the line. This one I like to show is what I call a typical department budget. So we take out all the road program, that kind of muddies the water. And I think my purpose in showing you this explains why personnel costs translate into those levy increases, those budget increases, because most departments, the primary cost in those budgets is personnel. So salaries, wages, health insurance, retirement, and so on. So the typical department, 75% of their budget is made up of compensation and benefits. So that's the point I'm trying to make is you see that translation into increases in budget levy because of, again, wage increases and so on. All right. Where does it go by function? Well, 27% of the next year's budget will be to highway, 24% human services, and on down the line, 18% general government, and then so on, down to public safety at 8%. General government is like county administrator, auditor treasurer, county board, planning and zoning. Those are the general county functions. So it makes those up. So, Mr. Chair, the rest of this are simply spreadsheets, lots of detail, which folks can study certainly on their own on our website. And I'm always, of course, happy to answer questions that anyone has about them.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Monty, do we want to go over what the state average is?
Absolutely, sure. Let's go back. I'll just zero back to the summary, and we'll keep that up on the screen. Right, that's been a topic of a lot of conversation. Is our levy increase and all? We're sitting at 9.56. The statewide average, as we've been recently informed from MICA, which is the Minnesota Intergovernmental Association, and this is from Department of Revenue data. The statewide average for counties is 8.1%. So not super far off that statewide average, all things considered, including the fact that there's the new debt service levy in our 2026 proposed levy. So again, 8.1% is the statewide average for counties.
And Mr. Chair, a couple other statistics, and I just wanted to throw it out there. 47 counties are within the striking distance of the 8.1%. There is 10 counties at or just below 5%. And then out of the 87 counties, Benton County per capita is 79th lowest tax per capita. So there's a lot of numbers out there that kind of can skew things every which way.
Yeah, I think you said that in terms of, so there's 87 counties, and we have the 79th lowest per capita levy in the state. And that's been true historically for a long time. That we pretty much in that lowest 10 when it comes to per capita levy, per capita spending. That's true. Yep. And folks can actually see that themselves. They can go on the state auditor website. There's this really great comparison tool that you can actually look and see those per capita rankings on the state auditor. It's really a nice resource. So, Mr. Chair, again, for the sake of time, I will wrap up and turn it over to you, sir.
Okay. Is there a sign-up sheet in the back for people, or are we just going to go? Oh, Beth's got it. You want to do that right away, Pam?
I can.
Okay. Commissioner Benoit's got something that one of her constituents wanted to be read.
It's a short statement, but it says, Commissioners, our main complaint about our property taxes is the total amount proposed from all jurisdictions combined from 2026 is 1.5% of the estimated market value of our property. We are now working with a realtor because being on a fixed income, we are getting taxed out of our retirement home where we have lived for only 4 years. She tells us they look for normal property tax to be in the range of 1.0 to 1.2% of the estimated market value. So we were already way out of line in 2025 at 1.37, and now 2026 will be far worse. Between the increase from the county and the city of St. Cloud, we are 4.5% percentage points above the median. So we vehemently disapprove of the increase, and secondly, would like to get an answer on why we are being so unfairly taxed and what we can do to get them reduced. All of these tax increases are why we did the petition drive against the CIP funding for the new administrative center, because it was very obvious to those of us who signed it that these tax increases come from state issues. County, city, and schools was headed for a train wreck. Thank you, Daryl and Michelle Watercott. 551 53rd Avenue Southeast, St. Cloud.
Okay. Kelly Gallagher.
Thank you. Yep, we'll put it in the record. Yep.
I am Kelly Gallagher, 10025 Sharon Place in Rice. So I want to address the decision-making process of this board. You can throw numbers out all day long. I just want to understand, and so I'm going to explain how I've heard it, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. So my understanding is we spent $1 million with an architect before we've even approved the process of the building. Then it was stated that, well, if the voters bring a reverse referendum, we'll reconsider and we'll take it to a vote to the people. So somebody actually did that and got the proper number and brought it to you guys, and you didn't take it to a vote anyways. You decided, we're gonna vote on our own and we're gonna make this government center a go. So that's the next step that I heard. So now, but then also, before you even voted for the building to go live, you were already breaking ground. So this was already a done deal, and you didn't care about the voters. So my understanding is, that's how I understood the process went. So first I want confirmation if that's how the process went, and please correct me if I'm wrong in how that process went.
Well, yes and no. Process was that we had a majority that said we should, or that we should not let the voters have the petition, and then it went to the alternative funding package after that.
Okay, so then I'd like to hear from each one of the board members your rationale on spending $27 million without taking it to a vote. So I'd just like to hear from each one of you.
Correction, it's
Okay.
$22.085 million.
Okay.
Okay, so I can honestly tell you, yes, I voted for it.
Okay,
Okay, and if it would have came to 25, 26, 27 million, I wouldn't have voted for the building. I had a number set in my mind. Now, when we went through with the architects and the engineers that went through our facility, and they gave us a breakdown of what it was going to cost to do a remodel on the old addition, the 100-year-old building. With that breakdown, we still needed space because we could not use the lower level at all, because we would have had to do new HVAC, new electrical. We had to do everything brand new. So now we were going to lose space downstairs. And then the only other alternative was to add another facility onto this building, which we got an estimate of $23 million. That did not include all of the remodeling in that basement either. So moving forward, we spent 2 years on this, 1.6 million, I think it was, for the architects. Monty, you can correct me. Okay, so we spent 2 years, 2.5 years working on this, all five of us. So now the referendum came in, and great. I thanked everybody for doing that. But I wish everyone would have waited until the bids were opened and then had a conversation. Because the bids came in at 24.5, I think it was, Monty? Yeah. And we were going to throw $2 million to the project. So at the end of the day, it was $22.085 now. And I voted for it, for that amount.
so help me understand the referendum, how that, I wasn't quite clear when you said the referendum came in and it shouldn't have come in at the time.
No, I didn't say that. They brought the referendum that morning, and I wish they would have waited until they seen the bid so we could have had a conversation about it, the next day. But the referendum, that came in that morning, and then the bids came in that afternoon. Late afternoon, was it, Commissioner Johnson?
2 o'clock.
2 o'clock? Okay. And then those bids came in at 24 million. I was shocked.
But all they were asking for was you to take it to a vote,
So
to the public, so I don't understand. Okay.
Let me finish. Okay, so with that being said, it was $22 million.
Okay,
Okay, now, I went back to the architects and I'm going, give me a logistic cost of what it would be for 2026 to bring it back to the voters. We initially I think he gave me a $34 to $35 million estimate if we bring it back to the voters to vote on. So my process was, okay, do we do it now?
and that's a
We wait.
hypothetical.
That is hypothetical, that is correct. I don't have a crystal ball.
Right.
No, nobody does. But at the end of the day, I was not willing to push it for another year and a half and throw another 10 to 12 or $15 million onto a project.
Okay,
whether the voters voted for it or not.
okay. Thank you.
And me too, I came into this when I got on the board in January, so I was very new when all of this came about. And I think you can talk to just about anybody on the board, and I clearly said I was not in favor of a new building. And I made statements at our meetings stating that I would let it go to. But again, same thing Steve said, when the bids came in, $5.5 million less than what the estimate was, because it was 27.5 million is what the architect had it estimated at. I thought, okay, this has been pushed off for how many years? If we keep pushing this off, what is it gonna cost the taxpayers? We're also renting a building on the east side of St. Cloud that previous boards agreed to renovate, which we don't own. We pay rent every month on that building. So those costs, I had to do a lot of digging to come up with my answer, and it was not an easy answer to come up with. But I looked at it as, it's a $5.5 million savings. And a couple people brought it to my attention that, well, we could have done a vote right away. We could have done a special election. I wasn't in favor of that. I do not agree with when the school districts do that, because they don't get all the voters out there to vote. That's why they do that. So we would have had to wait until the 2027 election if I was
I
going to vote.
think you would have
to
got
do-
voters out there.
Or
Look at all the
2026,
people
I
here.
mean.
I think you would have got voters. Okay, thank you.
Let me
else?
add on to that. The special election would have cost us another $50,000.
Yeah.
Okay, we weren't gonna do
Peanuts
that.
compared to 22
Well,
million.
you can say peanuts, but whatever.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think we
Now,
all
at
pretty-
the end, I'm not done, Mr. Chair. At the end of the day, when we brought people in through the facility, this is what they told us. Plan on spending anywhere from $500,000 to $700,000 a year just to put Band-Aids on everything that we have going on. Okay, so at that point in time, you start throwing the dollars out at 22 million, and in 10 years, we'd save over that, $5-7 million easily by not putting Band-Aids over everything that has been going on for a very long time. Okay, Mr. Chair, I'm done. Thank you.
I have a couple of comments to make yet too. When I got on the board in January, in 2 times in January, the boiler system had went down in this building that they had to do repairs on. So he's right, there's stuff that needs to be fixed.
Yep.
And also, I looked at it as, we have the numbers, we know what they are. If this went to a vote for me, it would have been remodel the old building and add enough structure to suffice and get rid of the east gate, or build a new building. So it wouldn't have been, we're not doing nothing, because we had to do something.
Right.
So when the vote came out, it would have, on the voters' ballot, it would have stated, in my opinion, one or the other. And at that point, we know no costs when everybody is voting.
And one other thing we would have had to do is we would have had to bring it back to the architects and engineers to upgrade everything again too.
Okay,
So which was been additional cost.
And Steve, correct me, or Mr. Chair, correct me, but I believe that when I did some digging, that the initial cost to hire the architect without knowing for sure what you were doing, you needed that to get your bids out.
Right.
That is
Because without
correct.
that, you couldn't even move forward at all.
so who else voted against taking it to the public vote?
Voted, well, from,
Or for not, yeah,
okay, from my standpoint, I will tell you right now, I struggled with the vote up
Okay.
here. I gave my word at an earlier meeting, and I ended up reluctantly having to stand by that word. I pushed it to a vote, so I did vote no, even though my colleagues looked at all the numbers, and I agreed with them. It's like, we can't just sit here and do nothing. We have to do something. But at the end of the day, I voted to push it to an election. And, you know, I did it because I gave my word. And I believe that's worth something to me. Even though that I knew that the right decision probably was to move forward.
Okay, thank you.
So Kelly, I voted to approve construction of the government center.
Okay.
They touched on a little bit of history, but I want to give you from my viewpoint.
Sure.
Back in May, we had a public hearing, and the room was filled with opposition, basically, to the government center. If you fast forward to, I believe it was May 26th, please don't hold me to the date, but I believe that was the date. Petitioners turned in the petition, which we figured was coming. It was not a surprise. When we looked at the capital improvement plan bonds, I think it's important to remember too, and I need to back up a little bit. For the prior 18 months, we held approximately 53 meetings.
56.
Were available to the public through committee of the wholes or board meetings. We had almost zero input at that time until the government center public hearing. And we were a 5-0 unanimous board. We were $1.6 million into architectural drawings and moving ahead. And we were a 5-0 unanimous board until that public hearing. Nobody on this board, and I generally don't speak for you, but I don't think anybody on this board ever went into it with the intent of trying to overturn a petition. That's with the capital improvement plan bonds, we knew that a petition could be provided. So that was never the intent. Now, again, I'm giving you my viewpoint, okay? So fast forward through May, the morning, I believe, of May 26th, the petition shows up. We assume it's valid, but the auditor treasurer is going to have to validate that petition. That afternoon at 2 o'clock, I think it was Commissioner Heinen and myself were here, we opened bids. $24.5 million, so roughly $5 million back what we had approved for a funding mechanism. So for me personally, I had a hard time leaving $5 million on the table. To Commissioner Benoit's point, the 26 ballot, more than likely, I agree with her, from my position, would have asked the voters, are we spending X on a remodel or are we spending Y on new building? It wasn't going to be, are we not doing it or are we doing it, okay? And in my mind, that $5 million, that was good for 45 days. It was a 45-day window that we had to decide if we're going to accept those bids or not. And from my perspective, I knew it was $24.5 million today. None of us, like to your point, had a crystal ball to decide what was 26 going to bring us. Was it going to be 30 or 35 million? I don't know. Was it going to be 27 or 28? Nobody knows. But we knew we had qualified bids for 24.5. So because of that, that's what I based my decision on, not leaving the $5 million on the table. Because even though those people weren't necessarily here, there were some people that understood and were in favor of the government center and would have been the same discussion with them about why we left $5 million on the table if the bids would have came in $5, $10, $15 million higher, if the voters would have approved it. So that's how I got to that decision. And I'm just explaining you my personal decision.
I appreciate it.
Well, my decision was made probably prior when the Sauk Rapids Herald and the Benton County News started to come out with what it was going to cost and all that. I just got constituents out there, right and left, that said, why you want to do this and this time. The timing wasn't right, is what I heard a lot of, and they kept telling me, and I decided at that point that this is not something we should move forward, and we were going to honor the petition. I didn't think some people that, after the petition was not honored, said they didn't care if it was 35 million. They wanted to have something to say about this and how we spent their money. And I think they entrusted the county board to do the best job for the decisions of the county. And I was not about to go against the petition or what my constituents up in my part of the county were telling me, that they wanted to have some say in it.
Right.
And granted, we had a lot of meetings and they could have had say in some of that. But, the meetings are not conducive to a lot of people for the timing to get here. A lot of people work and stuff like that. So we did have our open houses and they were mixed, I think. It wasn't horribly against or horribly for, some were reasoning. But for the most part, there was not a lot of people up in my area that were in favor of doing it,
Right.
At that point in time.
Well, I appreciate you guys giving me your input. I think just in looking at this, I feel like your decision-making process is broken, though. And that's what I would like to see addressed, because it seems to me you might have a strong case to take to the voters, and you could have gotten the voters involved earlier. I understand you said there was 53 meetings. I know, I've ran boards before. It's hard to get people out, but you have to actively get out there and engage them. And I didn't hear about this until, oh boy, maybe couple months ago. So, and I would have been here. And so, and I'll take responsibility for not reading the Herald or whatever. I'm busy, right? We're all busy. But I think the process is broken. And to go against the will of the people, I think you heard from the will of the people and you intentionally went against the will of the people. I get you had a good business case. I get you wanted to save the money. Totally get it. Your process is broken. That's what I'd like to say. And I would like to ask for the voters, is there an opportunity to scale some of this back? Maybe it's not the 27 million, but maybe you have somewhere else in your budget you can start scaling things back. Because like the letter this young woman or this woman sent forward, it's killing people. Mine went up 28%. So I think you need to be listening to the people because the people want to be heard. And so I think you need to be more intentional about that. And that's what I had to say.
One thing I've heard since the valuations came out and that people are really tired of us telling them that the medium value home is $276,000. We have to drop that. It's not about the medium value home. It's our businesses. It's our land. Our agricultural people that are totally picking up the tab on this, and they get really tired of hearing about $108.
Right. Yeah.
So.
Yeah, you can skew the numbers all you want to make it look good. But it seemed to me you had a good case and you missed the boat by not going to the public. So that's what I had to say.
Thank you, Ms. Gallagher. Mary Jo? Mary Kay.
511 25th Street Northeast, Sauk Rapids, Minnesota. Okay, so you guys you put out this great thing, but let's kind of peel the onion back. You spent $1.9 million?
1.6.
1.6, okay. You had how many meetings? 50?
We actually had
53, 50 plus.
Okay. Now we're looking at how much of the government center is actually going to be utilized. It's 100% over there. How full is that going to be? Full of people, offices that are actually going to be used? Is it 50%, 75%? How big do we build this over and beyond?
The only extra space we have is upstairs.
Every department has some space for expansion, not a lot. Human Services, the most on the second floor. It's tough to take a guess because it varies by department.
Well, I wouldn't think it should be a guess. I mean, we should know how much is utilized, right? I mean, is the extension office going over there? Are we going to be paying for that anymore? I know we're bringing Sauk Rapids over. Are we really going to fill this up or half full? Where are we at with it?
Correct me if I'm wrong, Monty. I don't think you were guessing. It's more you didn't know off the top of your head. Like DMV might have one or two extra offices, and stuff like that. He just doesn't have that with him, correct? Is that what you're getting at?
Right.
We knew going into it, it's roughly, 10% of
A vacancy.
a vacancy, yeah.
Okay. Another question I've heard a little buzz about, tearing down the old building. I've been to numerous meetings, and I brought up parking prior to this, and you've had all these 52 meetings, and now we're talking about spending another $1.5 million for a parking lot and to tear down the other building. Is that correct? That's coming out of a slush fund? Or what's happening with that?
It was never in the budget. It will have to come from somewhere.
But you had
No, it's
50-some
in there.
meetings.
Yeah, it's in
Did
there.
you have 50-some
Yeah.
meetings to
It's in our
figure
budget.
this out?
Yeah,
It's in the $24.5 million.
Yes.
Just
It's
for
in there?
FNER.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
If I may, so you may recall is during this mostly occurred during committees of the whole where we talked about what cash we had available for the project, and we said we had about $4 million. So the board said, okay, let's take $2 million of cash towards the new government center, and the other $2 million to set aside for the demolition of the old courthouse and the creation of additional parking. So that is sitting in the CIP fund at this moment, right? That other $2 million is sitting there. And again, that part I know wasn't discussed as much in the public meetings, open houses, and so on, but it was certainly discussed in work sessions with the board of setting aside those resources for that purpose. So,
So that is part of the,
It's part of the cost.
Yes, it is.
it's not part of a different fund or anything like that? Because, I mean, came to meetings and I asked about parking and where people were gonna park, and I've never heard anybody mention about,
It's part of the capital improvement fund. That's where we're pulling the 2 million down in the building, and then the other 2 million's for the parking lot and tearing down.
so correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't it always, we're gonna sell this for $1, and I can't remember.
We're not tearing down the whole
There's
thing.
never any decision about what was gonna be done here yet. We're actually just starting those discussions on the redevelopment of this property and
Okay.
what that may entail.
The thing that was talked about tearing down was the old.
Old part.
Right, I understand.
Yeah.
That was, I understand that part was gonna be tore down.
This is up in the air yet.
But when I brought up parking, I said, where are all these people gonna park? Where are all these people that are gonna come to Foley for their tabs gonna park? And I never heard anything about a new parking lot until just recently. So that I was wondering where the tab for that was gonna come to. So, getting back to my question, the very first one I asked was, so of the percent, 9 point, whatever it is, how
6.
much of that is actually the government center? Is it about 7%, 7.5%?
someone actually asked me that today, and if it's a complicated answer, but if you took out the debt service, you probably also wouldn't use the $500,000 of reserves, because I think the board said, hey, we're going to use that to bring this down because of the debt service. Long story short, the levy increase would be about 3.8%.
So
That
the levy,
9.56 would be 3.8%.
so you're talking about, okay, explain that to me one more time, because I'm not understanding.
I think you asked the question of how much of the levy, how much of that 9.56 is related to the building.
Government center, correct.
So it's So if you didn't have the debt service in there, instead of 9.56, it'd be about 3.8.
But don't you have to have the debt service in there? Because
Absolutely
didn't
have to have it in
yes,
there, right,
Okay,
yeah.
right. So you're saying that 3 point, but really the debt actually went up by how much more interest are we paying because you did not go with the first funding? Another 1%? How much of the
I
percentage?
do not know the answer to that question of what would the interest rate would been had we issued CIP debt. I don't know the answer to that. So.
Okay. But interest has gone up since this all process has
You know,
started,
I
correct?
remember, Mr. Chair, we always heard from Jessica Green from North End Securities is that historically, the lease revenue debt is about 25 basis points interest rate
0.25.
higher than CIP debt. So 0.25% is
I-
interest rate
I
higher.
believe at that time when she said that it was 4.1, and then if we went HRA, and don't quote me, but I think these were the numbers, 4.3.
So again, I do not have a number to tell you what would be the additional
We can get
interest.
that, we
Yeah.
can get those numbers for you.
I just look at it as, everybody is going to the grocery stores and everybody's paying their bills right now and everything is skyrocketing. And I came and I pleaded my case of, hey, this is what's going to happen if you guys go ahead with this. This is what I'm hearing from my neighbors and my friends that live in Benton County. Old people, young people, people that are retired, people that are living on a budget. And now here we are looking at this high of an increase on our taxes. It affects people that are making their monthly house payment and their escrows are going to go up, up, up. And you're looking at keeping it under 10% this year. What's going to happen next year? We're going to just keep it under 10%. I go back to what this board did by not listening to the petition and letting the people vote on this. And that's on you guys. That's my point. Thank you.
Okay. They were the only two that signed up, and I guess I'll ask, is there anybody in the audience that wishes to speak? Okay.
Mike Lewandowski, Alberta Township. I was just going to make a couple remarks on some of the other comments from the people here and responses from the board. So we keep hearing that the reason some of you or most of you went with this decision was because of good bids at 22 million. And it still begs the question where the higher dollar amount came from earlier, because it was projected to be higher than that. Came in at 22 million, sounded good. But no one seems to talk yet about what is the interest on this loan, on these bonds. We get it that it can be refinanced at some point, but as it sits today, what is the interest on this?
I did not bring that with me.
It was, correct me, Monty, but I think it was locked at when we did that. The interest is locked in right now.
If we have other speakers, I'm happy to go to my office and get that number, but I don't.
You don't need the exact, I thought, from my recollection, that we talked about it before. It was like 4 to 5 million, was it not?
4 to 5 million.
Of what?
Interest?
Oh, for the whole duration of the 20 years?
Correct.
Oh, I would bet it's higher than that.
Higher than that.
Higher than 4 to 5 million. So
It's
when
kind of
it-
like a house mortgage. If you buy a house for 500 grand, you're really not paying 500 grand.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. So this project, while it sounds good at 22 million, it's not 22 million, right?
That's right.
It's
That's
way
true.
higher. Okay. So I just wanted to get that out there that, yes, okay, you got 22 million, but the interest, when anybody takes a loan, like a mortgage, like you indicated, yep, you gotta figure that in the total. So everybody's got that in the back of their mind. Wanted to point out, you talked about space and the reason for having to do this, the repairs and everything. We get the repairs and I understand that, but as far as the space, I've personally taken calls from at least 7 people. Some from Human Services, some from other county workers. And it's very troubling, and I know there's been county surveys, and the surveys all came back with positive stuff supporting the project, but I'm just passing this on to the board that there are people inside the county that say, we got no space problems. And so when you hear that, coming from an employee that works in the county building where there's supposed to be this big space crunch, it's very troubling. And then finally, you all are gonna vote on the final levy and approve it on what date?
16th.
December 16th. And at that meeting then, is that when you decide or consider the percentage increase for elected officials? Or when does that
Yes.
get added on to your
That's-
final
yes.
decision?
Yeah.
The board will be asked to select official salaries on the 16th.
On the 16th.
On the
Yep.
16th?
That'd be all elected officials.
Yep.
Right. All right. Thank you.
Somebody else raising their hand out there?
Jim did.
Jim Markford?
I just want to ask you about the remodel of the courthouse. I want to compare it to our ditch that nobody did anything to for over 100 years. And most people know what went on with that. And now you have the same thing with the courthouse. So it's 100 years old. Hasn't it been kept up? Now all of a sudden it's going to cost how many millions of dollars to bring it up to date? Why wasn't it kept up to date as it went on? We have to do that with our houses, with our stuff. We have to keep it up to date. Why wasn't the courthouse kept up to date?
Mr. Chair, I'll answer from my perspective, Jim. This is my 5th year on the board. When I first got elected, we had started discussions about a new government center. Bids were coming in way whacked, and we put our brakes on it. And we, as a board, indicated to property management to make sure that you're maintaining the building for what you need to do, but please don't be spending a bunch of money until the board makes a decision about the government center. So I can only speak about the last few years. So to answer your question, yes, it's been maintained to what it needs. We certainly haven't we tried to stay away from recarpeting everything and repainting everything and replacing windows everywhere and all those type of things because we were in this discussion process of what we are going to potentially do for a government center. So I can only speak to the last 4+ years. Before that, the other 96 years, I can't answer your question.
So we're getting the same thing with the courthouse as we did with the ditches. It's all
Well-
getting dumped on us now, not,
Well, and
Not the
I think
prior-
you and I have had those discussions about ditch authority, right? You're absolutely right. The ditches were let alone for 100+ years, and for me, I can only answer the last 4. I'm sorry, I can't answer before that. I understand the frustration. I'm sure it's a political hot potato. Nobody wanted to address it because landowners like yourself were gonna get assessed, right? And they kicked it down the road for the last 100 years. And here we are.
and you say now you're gonna get a vote for a raise, and you're probably not voting just for your raise, but we don't get a vote on our raise. We get our set budget, what we get from our social security and stuff, and you guys are just throwing all these big figures at us that we have to, and we don't get near the compensation from, our retirements and stuff to make up for all these, increases that you guys are giving us.
Well, the county board will have discussion coming up in a meeting about what again, these are all elected officials. It's not just us, auditor, treasurer, sheriff, county attorney. All of those individuals will be discussed if and what amount they would get. We haven't had that meeting yet, so I can't answer that. We haven't made that decision.
Mr. Chair, can I answer Mark's question?
Sure.
He asked about the interest rate. So this is actually the risk on the bond sale. What's described as the true interest cost is 4.45%. And if the bonds are not refunded and just fully paid over the 20-year term, the total interest paid would be 12.8 million. 12.8 million on 22 million in principal. Yes. So, I'm sorry. I just don't like guessing. There's
Right.
oftentimes when I guess, I'm wrong. So I don't want to guess.
Absolutely.
Right.
Great, thanks for that information.
Anyway, we're getting a lot of stuff dumped on us, and
I agree.
most of us are on fixed incomes, or basically close. We don't have the ability unless we decide, well, let's all go get jobs again.
Yeah.
And that wasn't the whole point why you're supposed to retire, so you have to go get a job, so you can stay on keeping your house or your farm or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, there's a lot of frustrated voters out there.
Is there anybody else that wishes to speak? Okay. Well, go ahead. There's one coming from the back first. State your name and.
Raymond Goulet, 10129 75th Avenue Northeast. You guys talk about, and we know the new building's going up. What's the plan for the old building? You guys don't address what it's gonna cost you to maintain it. You don't know if it's for sale. And you guys just started this discussion and you've already wanted to build the building already 3 years ago? I mean, is there a plan for what you're gonna do with this?
They're working on a plan. We've got
But that's the point. You guys spent 37 million actually with interest, and you have no plan of what you're gonna do with this, and you still have to maintain it, put the heat on, keep the water running. All of those are expenses,
Well,
right? You're gonna have to
somewhere
maintain it.
somehow we have to divest ourselves in this building because we cannot afford what you just said.
Mr. Chair,
So
to your point.
you're gonna leave it vacant then?
To your point about we weren't able to make a final decision. Let's just hypothetically say that you were going to buy it.
Right.
We couldn't make that decision with you because we hadn't made the decision there yet. We couldn't sell this to you until the decision was made for there.
Right.
So we've had preliminary discussions. There's all kinds of ideas on the table. We've actually just put together a committee. We've had one meeting. We've got another one coming up with the city on the 16th, I think, to find out a bunch of different options for us. But again, we couldn't make final decisions on this because there wasn't a final decision on that yet. Does that make sense? We talked about
I get your
multiple
point.
ideas. We just couldn't finalize anything
Right.
because we didn't know we were leaving here.
But you still have the liabilities then of this building
Well,
until
and
you make that
we
decision.
certainly-
So you're still building, this
Well, we're-
building's still gonna cost you money.
We're still going to be
And
here
be in
for
a
another
brand
year
new
at
building.
least. We'll be here for another year at least while that's being built. And our hope and our plan is that we have something in place by then because we do want to divest out of here.
So this is gonna become a taxable property and not a,
That may be, could be. There's some of us that feel, and from my opinion, I want to look at options that put this back on the tax roll. That's just
absolutely.
my
I mean,
opinion.
Wouldn't that make sense? I mean,
But we've got to have more than my opinion to agree
no,
on that.
I agree. Okay. Then one other thing is the airport. I really do think that that's such a backwards kind of answer as far as the taxpayers, the property owners are gonna pay a bill that some of us don't use. or have been there. And you put another burden on us again, which seems like you guys automatically put it on property owners without even thinking of any other way to do it.
Well,
We're the bank for you guys, and
Let me give you my
don't
viewpoint on
have
this.
any other
Ray, I want to
avenue.
give you my viewpoint. This is not the rest of them. This is my
Yep.
viewpoint.
Yep.
I had no idea on the St. Cloud Airport Authority, the contract that was established back in 2019 allowed them,
Yeah.
the three counties and the city of St. Cloud, to levy. Okay? A year ago, we got a letter from the St. Cloud Airport Authority saying, we're going to levy $1 million. And we had already said our preliminary. And we basically said, no, you're not. We can't. What do you mean you're going to levy us? So we've had discussions, as Commissioner Pop and Commissioner Kapinski alluded to, about what we're going to do about that. Because all three counties got this letter from the St. Cloud Airport Authority saying we're going to do that. Fortunately, it doesn't make it any better, but it's based off tax capacity. Benton County takes the least hit on the three county thing.
I know.
That, I'm not trying to say that's good, but fortunately for us, it's about 130, 150 grand. Stearns is getting hammered at 60% of that money.
And I understand.
So we're trying to work with the St. Cloud Airport Authority going, how can you restrain your costs so that next year you're not levying us? Because in my opinion, it's not going to stop at $1 million.
No, it isn't.
And they've got levy authority through that approved contract.
And
So
how
that's a whole nother nightmare, and I'm just telling you, that's what we woke up to one day.
Yeah, and we've had the conversations with them because each of the three counties in the city get two appointees to that airport authority. And if, push comes to shove, the counties can load that airport authority with people that will respect what the county wants and not what the city wants. It's not something you really want to do, but if it gets to that point,
Believe you me, we've had discussions about unappointing
people that we have,
Members.
So,
I guess my last comment is, we're getting to the breaking point too out here, paying these bills that you guys are putting in front of us that we have no say-so over. You didn't give us a vote over, and we still got to keep paying them, and we know what happens when we don't pay them. Then it's disaster for all of us property owners. So, thank you for your time.
okay. There was one more hand out there, okay.
Hi, my name is Mike Akers, 2927 90th Avenue Northeast in Sauk Rapids. Scott, you are my commissioner. We've emailed a few times, going back and forth. Obviously, you made your decision. I completely disagree with it. It's always easy to spend other people's money. So it's unfortunate that I don't even want to be at this meeting, but here I am. I built a house last year, and my question to you guys is, this year it sounded like there was no additional jobs being created for the county. But my question is, so it's 10% this year or 9.56%? I know, Steve, you like to be very particular, it looks like.
Just got it in front of me.
Yeah,
That's why.
no, I can tell. Yep. So, and so my question is, having just built this house, should I be packing my bags and selling this house because I'm regretting the choice to stay in this county? Because if it's 9.56% this year, what is it going to be next year? What is it going to be the year after that? Do you have any estimates on that?
But typically on kind of any given year with compensation, health insurance, and other factors, it's usually a 4 to 5% to start. So it stands to reason that we might be looking at something in that range in 27.
That include the levy for the government center?
So that's going to be baked in then. That's going to be in the base then. So, I think you're asking about what could be the increase for 27. So I think, again, historically, 4 to 5% to start. Could be lower, but that's probably more reasonable, like 4 to 5%.
So the property owners, $27 million a year, we fork over for you guys to decide on how you spend our money. And, I think a lot of us here are unhappy with what's been going on. Our bills go up. I don't know if anyone's electric bill's gone down. Anyone? Garbage bill thing? Nothing. Everything goes up, and you spend $22 million without taking it to a vote. It's a joke, and it's really disappointing. So, thanks.
Okay, is there anyone else? Otherwise, we're gonna. Well, there's somebody in the back that raised their hand.
I'm Deb Olson, and I live here in Foley. I understand that the taxes are what they are. One of the things that I would like to ask our elected officials, many of you go to our state for various functions, committees. The other part that's killing is our insurances. My personal homeowner's insurance has doubled just in the last year. The insurance industry has lobbyists and PACs. And I would ask that our elected officials start working on those individuals to bring down some of those costs for your residents in our county. Other things like utilities, you have no control over, but you do have some say and input in the insurance industry. Thank you.
Somebody else? Okay.
Me?
Yep, Kelly Gallagher.
So I'm back to process again. And just after hearing everything that I've heard, it seems to me that if you're running a business, which this is government, it's not a business does not have the ability to just increase their budgets. They have a budget they have to live within. And if they can't live within their budget, they have to make cuts. And so, yes, you might be giving 3% increases and raises to some people, but maybe you don't need all those people. What about a process to create efficiencies? Now, I've heard from many of the people that I work with that use your services, they never wait in line. It's a joy to come here because they get in our way. We never have a problem. Maybe there's a way that you guys, so that's why I'm kind of like, why do you need a new building? Seems to be operating just fine. However, maybe you need to tighten the belt and look at processes and create some efficiency with less people. That's what I have to say.
Thank you. Okay, seeing no more hands, we're going to close the Truth and Taxation meeting.
It's not even.
What? Yeah, so then we'll move on. Okay, so we'll move on to set Commissioner of Committee of the Wholes. Anything, Monty?
Oops, turn my mic on. A couple of things to put in the record. The MnDOT study workshop, St. Cloud City Hall, that is Thursday the 4th at 11. I know a couple board members are interested in attending, and that's going to be okay. That's okay. We got you covered to attend that. Again, that's the MnDOT Highway 10 study workshop, St. Cloud City Hall, Council Chambers, 11 a.m. on the 4th. So if you communicate with Beth, you're good to go.
Is that going to be a higher level than the other three meetings they're having? or
I
what?
think actually it's going to be much more in depth.
Okay.
That's their TAC, witches meeting, Technical Advisory Committee. It kind of got I kind of messed up a little bit there, but that's okay.
Okay.
I think you'll get a lot more detail if you're interested in going. All right, we need to get in the calendar the AMC Annual Conference, December 8th, 9th, and 10th in
Bloomington.
what city is that? That's not
Bloomington.
Minneapolis, is it?
Bloomington.
I think the address is.
Oh, it's a Minneapolis address. I think it's Bloomington though.
Yeah.
Yeah. You sure about that? You are invited by Public Health to a presentation by the Minnesota State Demographer on March 9th at 1 p.m. Sauk Rapids Government Center. Go March 9th, 1 p.m. Sauk Rapids Government Center, a presentation by the Minnesota State Demographer. And we also have to add this wouldn't be necessary as a committee. Just want to make sure you have on your calendars the BEP holiday event Thursday, December 18th.
Yeah.
At 4:30.
Excuse me?
May I ask, Beth, do they need RSVPs?
Yes,
Did you collect RSVPs?
I have one.
Anyone else wish to attend?
Well, I'm on the B.
You're good.
I'm good.
Anybody else?
I'm waiting, maybe.
You're a maybe, okay. Beth,
I'll
can you
let
please
Beth
follow
know.
up? Okay, all right. That's all we have, Mr. Chair.
Move for approval of the cows, Mr. Chair.
Hang on. If anybody, did you all get this?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm not.
If nobody's going?
No.
Then we don't need to add it. Okay. That's what I need to
So
know.
you have a motion, Mr. Chair?
I have a motion and I need a second.
Second.
Motion been made and second to approve the cows. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned at 7:10.